Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Ben Moore.
Vaccinations.
Sweeping the nations, Brad Ellis. And my mini-game champion and co-moderator, Mr. Daniel Bloodworth.
I'm the host of that show. I am not the champion.
You haven't anointed the mini-game champion yet, so I think you hold that. You know, you are the minigame champion until it's decided otherwise. No? You're the minigame guru? The minigame Gandalf?
These things will be revealed. These things will be revealed. Okay.
Holy cow. Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest events in the world of video games. But before we do that, we must first answer for all of the mistakes, and there are a few that we made last week. Bloodworth, begin corrections music, please. Boop. There actually is a James Bond racer called 007 Racing, published by EA.
Thought so.
It used a heavily modified Need for Speed engine and featured such licensed cars as the Aston Martin DB5, BMW 750iL, BMW Z3, BMW Z8, Lotus Esprit, and the Ferrari F3. The Spirit? Well, we'll see. Maybe it's spelled wrong. And Ferrari F355. Levolution was introduced in BF4, not BF3, Huber. The mail truck game that Huber was pondering is called Lake.
Yeah.
I knew this, but I missed. There's no way you can convince listeners. I know this, but I said, in Cataclysm you can fly in Outland. You can fly in Azeroth, but that's what you can already fly in Outland. But Herlock Sholmes is not Phoenix Wright's ancestor. Ryunosuke is the actual protagonist of the great Ace Attorney.
And I didn't mean to imply that. I just said one thing, and then I had a gap, and then I said the other thing.
Exactly. Yep.
And yeah.
Nice try, everybody.
People are going to, pick up on that no matter what. I was talking about sniper scopes in VR, and I said it's weird because you can't put the scope up to your eye, and more than one person said you do not want to do that because you will mess up your eye when you fire that rifle. And we said Xbox Live last week. That's not a thing. It's Xbox Network. But I love that the person correcting me capitalized the N, which is itself incorrect. And some fun updates in this past week, Brad. I saw Apocalypto. I very much enjoyed it. That movie rules. We've had a video desync, which is funny because Zoom is messing with us today, but in XSplit we had some video desync issues in Capture and some audio crackle issues that I could not hear in Premiere, but were only in the export. Trying to fix this week. Apologies. A lot of people were like, that's been around for a while. And I don't know, listeners might not know this, but there is a collection of Pez dispensers behind me, and when Milo was grabbing around and trying to snag them, I realized, guess who is in the bunch the entire time? I do not have an Obelix Pez dispenser, but Asterix has been staring at us and wishing us well for the podcast for the last, several weeks. End corrections music, please.
Did Brandon turn green for anybody else?
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
That's another thing. Yeah, we're all discovering
Good
new
old
Zoom things that frustrate us.
Dude, Brandon's
he is
hulking
fine
out
for
right
me,
now.
but yeah.
I'm pumped. We just had
Game news.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the headlines, I'm pumped. We're going to talk about Ratchet and Clank had a state of play. Riot Games shut down a fan server. We got some speculation, some release demos. But before we get into all of that, I want to start off on the right note, on a happy note. A silver lining for this last week, something we can be proud of, from Konrad Kroncio. Swedish esports pros are currently holding a CSGO tournament for charity, together with Swedish celebrities raising money for the Save the Children Foundation. It started last week. It'll be running up until the finals on May 13th. So far, they've raised 128,000 Swedish krona. How much is that? And do we know? I have the number. I'm just curious if anybody
What does that
wants to take a
translate to
swing.
Zenny?
Yeah, that's
Or Gil.
There's got to be a website. Is there a website for gaming currency? I wonder if they can figure that out. That's about $15,000. If you want to donate, the link is esportal.com/KANDISKAMPEN. Kandiskampen. And it's nice to do a silver lining that is currently happening. So that's going until May 13th if you want to be a part of that. Bump that up. I'll tell you when I'm green, Ben. We just had I'm hulking out. We just had 15 minutes of Ratchet and Clank in a specific state of play for Ratchet and Clank that they snuck a couple other announcements in there. And Huber had a good question, a good response to the stream while we were live, where he was like, is anybody more in than they were before? And while I think Ratchet's maybe the prettiest PS5 game that we got, there's a lot of fun new weapons and a lot of fun new enemies. Except for the time jumping stuff, I'm used to this kind of pedigree from a franchise I haven't necessarily played that much. This kind of seemed on par for what I was expecting for Ratchet. Ben, you weren't at the reactions. I want to get your take on, potentially where you sit in your expectations of Ratchet and what they would need to do to get you more in. I don't know if you had time to check out the 15 minutes.
I mean, I don't know if being more in really matters. Like, I feel like I'm as in as you could possibly be. The game looks fantastic. I've enjoyed previous Ratchet games a whole lot. They're absolute best. They're games that my wife enjoys playing with me, so I'm super looking forward to that. I think Insomniac is one of the most talented studios out there. So I'm definitely not more in, but I really feel good about Sony in this current moment. I mean, I'm pumped to play Returnal tonight. I haven't gotten to play a single second of Returnal, so I'm pumped to play Returnal tonight. And then very soon I'm going to be playing Ratchet, which have not played, but have very few doubts about.
Your PS5 broke on you though, man. You've mended your relationship with your PS5 in terms of.
No, that was a bummer. I mean, anytime you spend a lot of money, I don't really know how that's related to Ratchet and Clank specifically, but
it's just good to know. It's good to know that your PS5 will be up and running by the time this game comes out. 2 months away.
And hey, to Sony's credit, they fixed it super fast. So
Nice.
We got to see more of the female Lombax named Rivet. We got the name before we had the State of Play today. 15 minutes of gameplay. Was that more than you were expecting, Blood? I thought it went by kind of quick, but.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is like 15 minutes, it blew right by. Like it felt like 3 or 4 minutes, and they showed quite a bit in terms of worlds and jumping on the critter and showing her in gameplay and showing off the adaptive triggers with different weapons and all that. It just zipped right on by.
I noticed the dimension jumps are a lot smoother from the stuff that they've shown in the past. Just a lot of those transitions were really good. There's such a great flow to that game, production-wise. Like, it's so clear there's such a nice amount of polish on that game that when they had, like, cross dissolves in the gameplay, it kind of thwe threw me off. I was like, what do you do? Why would you take such beautiful environments and soil it even for 2 seconds with some weird cross dissolve? But we got to see more of Rivet. Ratchet's stuck in this other dimension. Clank is gone. Brad, how long do you think he's going to be in that city? Do you think that's going to be like the bulk of the game, or
Ratchet? No, he'll be hopping around different planets pretty frequently. Like, I'm playing the 2016 one right now, and you're not on planets for too long, or not too short. I think it's a pretty good length, but you'll probably come back to it. There's going to be a lot of planets, Jones.
they did emphasize how much larger areas are.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everything will just be bigger.
And I love it when you, like, especially with a sequel, like a franchise sequel, they're just like, we have so many of these things. Like, what's the core of it? What's the idea of trying to get into the head of the developers? I imagine, as I stated in the reactions, that the whole concept of, oh, wait, what if we just tax the PS5 to try to run two things simultaneously so you can just jump from one to the other? Like, I think we can accomplish that if we know we're just exclusively going to be working on this one console. And I wonder if that kind of trickled down, like, through all of the stories. Through all the development of the story of the game, because they talked about revisiting all of these new characters. You're going to see people you're familiar with, and they're going to be like a fun twist on that. Mm-hmm. Does that excite you guys? Does that seem something where it's like, I'm really excited to see that, or it's like, oh, that's an easy way to just kind of reskin stuff that previously they've done before? They talked about environments coming back.
I think it's exciting because I feel like Ratchet's a game in a universe you could literally do anything you want. There's no rules you really have to follow, you know, like Spider-Man, obviously it's a superhero game, so you can do some crazy stuff, but Ratchet and Clank, I feel like you can do anything you want, Jones. So I think this is a perfect little test area for them to just really start flexing, like you said, the PS5's hardware.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it like reskinning, because like something I think is really cool about the game is they're playing with established elements of Ratchet characters and things like that, and putting them in alternate places and kind of flipping what you expect out of them, or just putting them in a completely different situation. And that's going to be really fun. I mean, if you know about Ratchet and some of its lore and some of its characters, it's going to be exciting to see all those twists play out.
Based on, I I'm just having vague thoughts about it because I don't have a lot of experience with the Ratchet series, so I don't know if they're at a position where like that excites fans of the franchise. They're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm especially with reskinning is not a good way to put it considering like how much better all of this stuff looks. Some ace camera work in the state of play today.
Yeah, I think it's just we've gotten so few exclusives the way everything's kind of rolled out on either of these machines.
People are hungry.
Yeah, people are hungry. People are, ready to see something, like this. That's why, one of the reasons that Returnal's been getting so much buzz because we haven't had anything since like Demon Souls, basically. That it's been just really like tailored for the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. So yeah, just one of these games that's pushing boundaries, and it's cool to see them doing that in a way that affects their level design. Even if it kind of doesn't matter once you pop through a portal, you're already in the other level. But it's it's definitely approaching that stuff in a new way and keeping things from feeling maybe as cut up as before. In not having some big old long transition cinematic or something.
And also something that I'm really stoked about with Returnal specifically is how it uses the triggers to allow you to switch to like alt fire and that sort of thing. And it's like, oh, that's cool because I don't feel like I've really gotten to fully appreciate this aspect of the controller yet.
Yeah. Yeah, with Ratchet in particular, it really feels like the GameCube controller. The way it's described, it's like, all right, you push it in halfway and it does this. You hit the click, it does something else. And like, yeah, that's Rogue Squadron right there, man. I feel it.
Man, speaking of impressive launch games,
Yeah.
Rogue Leader, yeah.
What other games did have these? I remember it might have been Crackdown. I remember there was some shooter I played that the lock on was all the way down on the trigger and just firing without locking on was like halfway down. If you were aiming, I thought that was interesting. Like once you pull your gun out, I can't remember what that was specifically.
Not sure.
Yeah, it's nice to see at least, we haven't had a lot of these games specifically for it, but it's nice to see when stuff gets ported to PS5, they talk a lot about, updates that they're making. I remember one, Ben, that they said was the topiary sprinkler will affect enemies, but it does so via a drone. And so even if something's off camera, it'll rumble in a specific way to let you know that it's ready to be shot, like it'll weaken something. So it's interesting to think of, off-screen suggestions, directing you left or right just based on movement going on in your hand. It's like, oh, that's, HUDs can get pretty busy as far as like damage indicators. I was playing Immortals and like there's a lot of like arrows that are like, there's a rock coming in from the side.
Brendan, it's funny because you mentioned like, did it make you like any more or less in or whatever? And I got like 7 minutes into that state of play and I was like, I don't want to see anymore. Like I know I'm gonna buy it. I know I'm gonna play it.
They had a trailer at the end of it that showed even more stuff, and I'm just like, I'm pretty good at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's why it was a good choice for them to kind of like cut away as soon as you got into that club. Because I just feel like
Crossed
that
is all
club,
the way, but yes.
Yeah, that club is it's probably got more going on. There's probably going to be a pretty fun scene in there.
There are a couple new traversal abilities that are being added to the game that seem crazy to me that Ratchet hasn't had. That a dash, that's
air
like
dash,
an air dash specific. Okay, because I've seen him do the little jump and roll over enemies before. I remember the first time we got to see Ratchet on PS4. It had that, but that dash looks super cool, and it's just crazy. And wall running as well. Like that seems like something that I remember. There's lots of like
interesting because that was a big
things
thing
I've seen
in
before.
Crash Bandicoot 4 as well.
They're all learning from each other. We saw the topiary sprinkler today. Ricochet, is that an old gun? The burst pistol they talked about.
All of them.
Had the
Dude, you could just probably totally make up a Ratchet gun right now and I'd be that exists.
Hey, that's a game. Wait till Heber's back on and we'll play it. The burst pistol Enforcer they showed off a lot. Shatter Bomb I think was my favorite. I don't know if I would do anything other than the Shatter Bomb. Just a big, huge grenade. I wonder if they were literally like, okay, PS5, what's the largest explosion we can do? Just like in an item that we can throw out. Mr. Fun Guy, the Negatron. Goal. The Negatron Collider, I vaguely remember. We got an update also on Subnautica Below Zero that we're getting that on May 14th, or the PS5 is getting that May 14th. And Among Us is getting a Ratchet and Clank skin and is coming to the PS5 later this year.
Man, I really feel like I
And
missed
4,
out
I
on
think.
Subnautica. I've been curious about it for a long time and just haven't checked it out.
Never too late.
Never
Saying,
too
Ben,
late. That's
it's
right.
it's on my PS5 right now. I
Nice.
pulled it out of my backlog, and I think I'm going to jump in, even though no, capital no to all of those things that I saw. Like any plant things, anything with like a mouth, that like the mouth is going to go around you while you're in water. Like, why would you want that? Like, why would you want to play a game that does
Yeah,
that? It's messed
I
up.
gotta be honest. I don't remember off the top of my head what the actual reveal for Subnautica was, because we already knew the date. So
In regards to the PS5 specifically, or
maybe that's it. Maybe it was just they hadn't announced the PS5 version of it.
and they also talked about the free upgrade that if you have Subnautica on
The original.
on, PS4, you can upgrade that. So always good news. But yay, Russian Clank. Yeah, it's funny because it's been a long time since we found something that's really built like for the system. Made me like miss Gran Turismo, because we were talking about it being like a system definer, the kind of thing where you're like, that's what the PS5 can do. It's like, that used to be Gran Turismo. But the PS5 is now officially sold, I think, 0.2 million more than the PS4 sold in the same time span. So they're doing okay without
Yeah, they're
having
doing fine.
that really hot exclusive.
I also love just completely that, Insomniac can switch things up and make, two of the best superhero games that I've ever played, that are universally loved, that like have sold so many copies, and then turn right back around and kind of do, their most iconic character, one of their most iconic characters at least, and it's one of the most exciting games announced this year. I love it. It just feels good.
It surprises me, Ben, when I hear from developers that they weren't sure that it was going to be good. Like the team at Hades, they just won a DICE, they were the DICE Game Award, and they're just like, wow, all this reaction. And it's like, well, you made it. You know how good this game is. And
Dude, I don't know. I imagine, because I feel this way when I make videos, dude.
Sure.
Like, I can't imagine what it's like working on a game
Yeah.
and being like, okay, I've been
knows?
working on this for 7 years. I hope it
knows?
doesn't suck. You're like,
last week we talked about the Pokemon Snap crew, and they're just like, oh, this year, Nintendo, of all years, like you're releasing Pokemon Snap. But I could see them being really nervous about Spider-Man. Just like, oh, people could hate this. They could hate our take. Whereas for Ratchet, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're really cozy. It feels like they're like,
they've
really
made a lot
excited.
of games. It's an established fan base.
Them going back and reinventing these areas seems like something they really want to do just because it's fun. And there's a lot of enthusiasm, and it's funny. We're talking about Demon's Souls and Returnal. It's like generally of the more positive of the PS4 and PS5 exclusives we've had lately. Riot Games this week shut down a thing called Chronoshift. That is a fan legacy server, allows players to access a 10-year-old version of LoL. And I saw this headline, and I had my first impulse, which I typically have whenever I hear stories like this, which was, of course this is going to get shut down. Of course, somebody's going to, drop the ban hammer and send you a cease and desist. The more and more, though, I read it, I'm not sure. And I want to throw it at the team. I got some legal language that is fantastic. I mean, it is boring as hell, but I'm so excited I get to read it because there's an official letter that PC Gamer shared from Riot to Chronoshift. That has but it's an email, so it's not like an official legal document, but it was for sure read over by several lawyers. And it is very funny because it's extremely cordial at the beginning. There was like a bit of confusion. Somebody reached out that was on the security team, so it wasn't a lawyer, and they just wanted to make sure, hey, can you just shut it down and hand over, and then we're fine. And Chronoshift said no, and so then things got legal. In the letter from Riot, they said, Riot's intellectual property rights are extremely valuable, and thus Riot takes this matter very seriously. Accordingly, we demand that you and the Chronoshift team immediately discontinue any work on the Chronoshift project, shut down the Chronoshift server, and remove all marketing or publicity for the project, including on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. We understand that you are among the lead developers and administrators of the new emulated server project. While Riot appreciates your support for and dedication to LoL, and I love that in an official lawyer-approved email, it's still LoL, Riot cannot permit the use or exploitation of unauthorized emulated servers in any manner by anyone, irrespective of the intent or purpose of the server. So specifically that last sentence, them saying like, hey, it's not personal. This is just like in our bylines. Does that make sense enough for you to say potentially like, yeah, right? They just, they're allowing people to play Riot, or League of Legends, a version that doesn't exist anymore. Of course you have the right and should in every instance come in and shut this down. Before we get into more details, does that alone ring true?
Legally, yeah.
Yeah, legally.
Having yeah, having the right, sure. It's not necessarily the same as should. I don't know. It just, without knowing a lot of detail on this story, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It feels like an old Counter-Strike server or Battlefield server or something like there's tons of people running legacy stuff like this and, not making any kind of money off of it. They're, playing with their friends. So I guess sometimes these things get to a matter of like what's the scope, what's the scale of what they're trying to offer people, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's a weird thing unless they're trying to, they're gonna pull like a WoW thing where they let people do that themselves. But I kind of doubt it.
League classic.
Yeah. I mean, they own it, and you can absolutely exercise their control over it. But I wonder, with WoW Classic specifically, and I feel like this also kind of ties into the remaster remaking craze that we've kind of been seeing for a while, if companies will start to change their mind a little bit, because Blizzard saw great success with WoW Classic. Now, World of Warcraft is an incredibly successful game, but so is League of Legends, and I think it's an audience that has been around for so long and is so huge. I think it would make sense for Riot to do something like that, to go back to an earlier version of the game and play off that nostalgia and capitalize that. And I wonder if we will see in the coming years other things like that from other companies.
Right.
At a similar level, I would imagine.
Ben, do you think, because Riot tends to be pretty secretive with a lot of their development, do you think that potentially they are tooling around with something like this? I remember when, the Metroid 2 fan game got shut down, like Samus Returns was basically around the corner.
Right.
And WoW Classic, they shut down the servers because they wanted to do kind of in a similar move.
They shut down those servers before, I think. Then everyone complained about it.
Right. And then WoW Classic came later, so I wonder if a LoL Classic is maybe the repercussions of this.
With Riot in particular, Blood, you're on the money. It sort of feels like Riot is working on 100 different things.
Yeah.
And within those 100 things, could it be a possibility? Yes. But Riot has shown that they certainly take their time with things. There are a lot of projects from Riot that we're still waiting on. And so, well, not a lot. I should say a handful. But yeah, I think it's a possibility. Riot just feels like it has so much going on right now. I don't know. It's hard for me to gauge if something like that is happening, when it would happen.
Jones, I don't know if you know this, but does it say if the people that made this like version of the game are making money off of it anyway or anything like that?
They are not. They specifically said we've been working on this project for almost 5 years, thousands of hours. We never asked for as much as a donation during all this time, paying expenses out of our pockets. We have refused and banned people that offered us thousands of dollars to gain access to the project, which is a weird flex.
Interesting.
But, which again, it's if specifically they're like, these are our bylines, and they're like, well, we didn't ask for money, and Riot could be like, yeah, that's.
It doesn't
that's
matter.
one aspect of it, but then there's all these other things you're not specifically addressing. And again, it's a big long letter. I'm only grabbing extras from it, and there's lots of online forum and website conversations and on social media and stuff. I wonder if the YouTube and Twitter are kind of pronounced because we're talking about servers here. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm on the fence. It's like, this isn't a Metroid fan remaking. I'm not like creating new art and trying to sell that. I think that's one thing that's obviously like a confusing breach of contract, because if I'm Nintendo, it's like, well, that game doesn't technically exist, and I don't want our fans thinking that it does. Whereas I don't think this infringes in that way. Again, I'm not speaking legally, just I wonder if some of these things obviously only become actionable on Riot's behalf because of their size. And I wonder if they were just like, all right, they're making all these YouTube videos, and they talked about like them marketing themselves, and it was like, marketing, that seems like a weird thing for a server that just wants access to an old game, but to specifically be like, no, we want to advertise ourselves too, and get as many people. That smells like you're going to get shut down. In
another way, League of Legends, like many games nowadays, really prioritizes engagement, right? So it's a free-to-play game that is constantly releasing new cosmetics. And so because of like the cycle that League of Legends exists on, it is to their benefit to keep players as engaged as possible and kind of like as on the pulse as possible. You know, I could see an argument from them like, oh, if this comes out and draws a bunch of budge, that will hurt our engagement. That will hurt people playing the current version of our game.
It's kind of a two-sided coin for me, because on one end, like, obviously they say like we are an extremely huge game, we have a very valuable IP, we'd love to protect it, and it's like, well, of course you would, obviously. But on the other hand, it's like, well, if your IP is so big, what's this gonna do? You know, is this really is this really like a dent in the armor, or is this something that
maybe personally I'm with you, but
maybe
I don't know.
Again,
I haven't landed
control.
Because a lot of the stuff
keeps growing.
Sometimes when you hear about these things, the developers come out really hot and heavy. They get really aggressive. They get really frustrated. And they are frustrated. They're alleged of being, quote unquote, disappointed in how Riot handled this. But they seem like really chill people. A lot of their announcements have been very, this is an ongoing game. It's not like they're bringing something from the past. I mean, they are bringing the version of the game from the past, but they're really just celebrating this thing that they clearly love so much. But at the same time, it's like, it seems inevitable. Got to get through this legal jargon, because it's just, I'm going to take a big bite out of this. This is great. From Riot, with respect to Chronoshift, the creation, maintenance, and marketing of your server without Riot's authorization violates Riot's intellectual property and other of its legal rights. By way of example, such conduct enables and encourages acts of copyright infringement, such as the distribution and installation of unlicensed game clients. It also may violate the anti-circumvention and anti-trafficking provisions of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, 17 U.S.C. 1201A. See Davidson and Associates v. Jung, 422 F3D 630 8th Circuit, 2005. Additionally, the Chronoshift project breaches the terms of the Riot Terms of Agreement and legal Jibber Jabber policy, that is its actual name, and intentionally interferes with Riot's contracts with its customers. This paragraph is so funny, because the beginning of the paragraph is like, hey, you talked to that guy online, and it was a confusion over whether he worked for us. He's in securities. He's not lawyers. Sorry for the confusion there. Anyway, shut it down or we're suing. It's like, whoa. Coming out strong in that paragraph. I could see working on a project like this for exposure as well. Kind of the same thing with Metroid fan projects, where it's like, I got my game shut down, but maybe I got a job at Nintendo, or maybe some other indie company heard of this, or maybe I can put this on my resume.
Which I actually do think that they're working with someone, but I forget who.
But it doesn't seem like this team is ready to bail. It doesn't seem like they're like, well, our time's up. All right, let's go via this recognition, go move on to other projects. Seems like they really want this to keep going. And I want, if I'm working on a project like this, I would have a parachute, and have something just to maybe get me out of there the whole time. And if something like this happened, just kind of cut my losses. Ben, do you think this is a fight worth fighting? I
mean, no. On a legal level, no, because it is Riot's property. They can shut it down. I feel like, every so often we hear of a story like this. Some fan is trying to make something that sounds really cool and a lot of people would appreciate, and then a company comes in and shuts it down. And the company always wins. And maybe there is something positive that kind of inevitably comes out of it. WoW Classic is a good example. But I don't know what they can really do.
Well, it makes me wonder if there are companies that we know that are cool with stuff like this. And like the opposite of Nintendo, basically. Like, Nintendo is going to shut you down. Like, you should know if you're messing with any of those properties, it's not gonna end well, or profitably. But are there any companies outside of like PC modding that we know that are actually like, maybe not encouraging, but just like, oh, hey, this project's neat, go check it out. Like, no issue for us.
What about like Valve? Like, what was that Half-Life remake thing? Black Mesa?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Valve.
I don't know a lot about it. I don't know if
They've been
Valve
very
was actually involved, like making any of it. I'm not sure. But I don't know. There's like tons of old versions of Counter-Strike you can still play. I'm not sure how it all works, but.
So I looked this up. The developer behind AM2R was hired and worked on Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh, fantastic. That game's great. Go play Ori and the Will of the Wisps, people.
Yeah, it's great.
Also in 2020, Riot Gene, quote unquote, That was the username. Warned the team after the announcement. Just jumped in. It's like, hi, I work at Riot. Don't do this. You're gonna get shut down. Like,
Yeah.
bad idea. So, again, they're just so nice. Something about nice devs. They're just so nice over the Chronoshift team, and like they're so heartbroken over this. But it's like you had to know. That's what's gonna happen. But just the server, especially accessing like an old version of the game is fascinating to me, in terms of legality. But might not be more developing things there. This is dangerous because I'm betting this isn't going to happen. I'm betting this is just some weird. This seems kind of too good to be true. I'm betting this is some weird rumor, but apparently from Daniel Richtman, who's in the comic book space and has in the gaming space and has teased and spoiled a lot of leaks and stuff like that, wrote via Stealth Optional that Netherrealm and Marvel might be teaming up.
I don't think this is Brand. I don't think this is
for a
risky
game
at all. I think this is extremely likely.
I get.
I feel like I could clearly explain why.
It's it's not it's not a logistical thing, Ben. It's just emotional. It's like, holy cow, I would play the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Because I played DC and I played Injustice and Justice 2 and loved all of those. I mean, it's especially all that I know how much more I know about Marvel, even just in the span of when we got Injustice 2. Like how many more characters have entered my brain? Like U.S. Agent, let's go. What do you take it away, Ben? What do you think? These two people were teaming up.
I mean, from Marvel's perspective, it makes so much sense, right? Because NetherRealm has proven multiple times now that they can make superhero fighting games that people are really attached to, that a lot of people play outside of the typical fighting game demographic, that is well supported and loved. Like there's just so many things going for it. I don't know why you wouldn't look at them and be like, yeah, this makes perfect sense, especially after Capcom dropped the ball with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I can imagine that they're talking, they want, when they slap their name on big projects, on big games like this, they want it to reach a certain level, and Injustice just seems so obvious, right? Like, and the potential for success is just huge. I mean, Mortal Kombat sells so much, Injustice sells so much.
Yeah.
Think of how much a Marvel fighting game could move, and I bet NetherRealm would be thrilled to take on that opportunity.
The main thing that I think keeps me skeptical is NetherRealm is like a division of Warner Brothers now, right?
Yep.
And so like
That's a good point.
Them holding the DC license and wanting DC to be, just as big as the MCU eventually, hopefully.
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
What I'm saying is like that's the
might
goal,
wanna face
right?
facts,
That is
yeah.
a long-term goal.
Right.
But even that,
yeah.
I think, could be turned into a positive, because, like, if you're a game company that's owned by Warner Brothers, they just want your games to sell and be successful, and so it's like, even with that DC connection, right? It's like if NetherRealm makes a game that everybody buys, that's still a win for them, and not only is it a win for them, it'll probably draw in a brand new audience that when Injustice 3 or Mortal Kombat 12 or whatever it is comes out, that will be even bigger as a result.
I'm hoping, Ben, I know we talked about this real briefly, but I'm hoping it's Marvel vs. DC or something like that. I think that would make...
yeah.
I mean, Marvel
everyone
vs. DC,
explode.
people would lose their minds.
Yeah,
exactly.
just explode.
People would spontaneously combust.
If they could do
Well,
that's the winning play.
Especially because some of the best moments in especially the Injustice, DC versus Mortal Kombat was fun, but like both of those Injustice things, especially Injustice 2, there were some cutscenes that were like, this is a fantastic moment. There was there was a scene between Robin and Batman that my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh my god, because what are they? They're just making this one game, so like let's go nuts. Let's have these characters not do stuff they've never done before. They want it, like DC is asking us to make these characters beat the shit out of each other. Like how do we figure that out? How do we make that really impactful? Sorry, go Ben.
Yeah, it's fascinating because if this does happen, and NetherRealm announces this project, within fighting games, it will have kind of an uphill battle, I think, because people are so, rightfully so, people are so attached to Marvel vs. Capcom and love that series and totally think it's been done dirty. And so that'll be, from a perception perspective, that'll be a bit of a problem from that corner of the community. But Marvel is so big that I think in the broader audience, like, that almost doesn't matter. Like, most people aren't going to care remotely. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And like, I really enjoy the Injustice games. I enjoy going through those story modes. I think they're really fun. I don't love them as fighting games. Like, so I wonder, like, I don't dislike them as fighting games either, but it's not like just mechanically.
It's not your preferred, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. And so I'm curious if it will feel like Injustice, if it will,
I think it will,
borrow
more
a lot
so.
of the things that it does.
That was going to be my question, Ben, is how much does Injustice feel like Mortal Kombat? I played modern Mortal Kombat, but not at all as much as I've played Injustice.
It feels pretty different than Mortal Kombat, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I'm wondering if they can, if once all said and done, if you were to play Mortal Kombat 10 and Injustice 2, and then whatever this, potentially might end up being, would you clearly tell, like, these, made by the same team, but these are very different fighting game feels?
Yeah, I would say a more accurate way of describing what I'm saying is it's like they clearly come from the same base, right? Like, it's
Right.
not hard at all on a feel or visual level to tell that it's they both look and feel like NetherRealm games, but I think from that base they change things up quite a bit.
Ben, I agree.
also,
It's gonna weird me out if this is true, and it's like Injustice just not like tagging people out, because I'm so used to that in Marvel games, and just like crazy ass like combo, like team up attacks and shit. Like, not that it needs to. It's just gonna be weird for a little bit.
I wonder if, because something that NetherRealm's been really good at is taking their games and then expanding those audiences with absolutely wild characters, right? Like putting RoboCop in Mortal Kombat 11 or the Ninja Turtles in Injustice 2. Like, I wonder if Marvel would allow them to do that. Like, even if you didn't get Marvel versus DC, it's like, well, could you maybe get some Batman DLC? Like, would that be possible?
Yeah, dude, that would be first character is Batman or something.
Yeah, like,
that would be
people
nuts.
would lose their minds.
Yeah. I think it's smart, Ben, especially in the age of Smash, or like how much attention a new character coming into a fighting game can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think NetherRealm understands that, like, almost better than anybody. Yeah. Totally.
DC and Marvel are both in Fortnite. We're almost there. Like, it's there kind of is a weird precedent.
Yeah. But would there be Howard the Duck? That's my question.
That's definitely something I could see NetherRealm doing.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I also feel current Marvel in 2021 is a little more down to get bloody than DC is. Like, DC would focus more on like big bruises and big impacts. It's like Superman's gonna like knock the guy up into space and then knock him down, whereas like Deadpool's finisher is like, oh my god, like that'll be. Imagine there'll be a little more intense.
I don't think there's gonna be like fatality stuff.
Deadpool's kind of in its own universe, but yeah.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of separate them.
Because you're saying this after the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and like when I was watching that show, it was like, wow, that got really violent. Like, I was not expecting that. Like, not like R-rated violence, but more than I was anticipating from your typical.
Well,
MCU
seeing blood happens, less than you think it does. Like I remember the Batman the Animated Series. Somebody pointing that out. It was like, oh, it's just in the pilot, and then every other time they, people just get dirty. Like there's, throw a guy out of a helicopter and you see him come up out of the water like, I'm okay. So yeah, I don't know. I wonder though how upset, if this got announced, DC fans would be, because it kind of reminds me when J.J. Abrams jumped from Star Trek to Star Wars, and they're like, hey. It's like, I remember this like heartbreaking cartoon I saw of this little version of like Jean-Luc Picard or something, or no, it was Kirk, this little version of Kirk, and J.J. Abrams was like, eh, and he was walking over to Han Solo, and Kirk was like, oh, and I'm curious if you can remember any other famous betrayals, just somebody famous that was very talented that then was like, sure, I mean, I've got a lot of success and I'm good at what I do, let me go over and play that.
This is not a betrayal, but weirdly people interpreted it as one. what immediately springs to mind is people got so upset when Final Fantasy 13 was announced to be coming to the Xbox 360.
True. I
Oh,
remember
right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
The level of
remember that.
anger over that announcement
dare
was
you.
insane.
Was 11 already on 360 at that point? Or was that like
I think at the
was that the
point it
beginning?
was.
No.
I know it was just at that point. I played it on 360, but
I don't
was curious.
remember 11 generating that kind of response, and I wonder if that's just
Oh,
because it
no
was
one
also
gave
on
a shit
PC,
about
but-
it
Yeah,
on 360.
but I don't know if 11 was out at that point. It's a good question for 360 anyway.
Yeah. Also, just because I'm one of the few people in this industry that will bring up mobile, talk about mobile, push mobile. Shout out to Contest of Champions, doing well, been around
Brandon,
for a while. Mobile fighting game.
I gotta play Fantasian, man.
Oh yeah.
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 I mean, we can go off on that. That is not Marvel adjacent at all, but somebody tweeted that at me, and it's like, don't tell me. The PS3 store going down, somebody did Final Fantasy Crystal Defenders. That's a tower defense Final Fantasy game. I was like, oh no. Don't.
It's your kryptonite.
What are you doing? But Ben, I tell you, I mean, I'm just being safe with my emotions in terms of this actually happening, because I would play the ever-loving crap. Sure, the updates, and because that was the thing about the Justice, where it was like, oh, I got a new armband. It's like, I mean, for Batman and Green Lantern, I'm going to play this game. You know, it's like, I got to get that armband.
If they do it, they're gonna go absolutely.
So all these
bonkers
dumb
with the
cosmetic things that they
customization
could potentially
stuff.
do.
I could have egg on my face with this one, but I really feel confident that it will happen.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you another reason I think it's going to happen. I mean, Marvel is spending money on Fortnite, Avengers, Spider-Man, Ultimate Alliance 3, Black Order. I'm curious if we're getting Lego Marvel Superheroes 3. I wonder if we'll ever see that. Lego seems to have kind of slowed down recently.
Well, the Skywalker Saga got delayed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clean it up.
Which, holy cow, Brad. Yeah. We're going to be playing that. Brad, you playing that?
Maybe. I haven't really played a lot of those Lego games, so maybe.
Well, that's the one. I mean, it's all of it. You know.
Quick
it's a
thing
good
before we
you
move
waited.
on from Marvel is, if this happens, Ben, I really hope this doesn't mean the end of potentially Marvel doing something with Capcom in the future. I really like those games. Everyone has a really soft spot for those games, so I hope it's not like the end forever.
Yeah,
work it out.
I don't have a lot of faith, but I don't know that I had a lot of faith post NDC3 either. So
Right.
Yeah, totally, man. I would love to see. I'm with you 100%. It would be great to have MVC like on top of the world, going to Evo and people saying wins Marvel and freaking out. Like, they're going to say that regardless, but for a new Marvel game, you know.
They should just do a DC versus Capcom then. If it happens. Spite play.
Dude, I'd take Capcom
That would
versus
be
anybody.
funny.
Wait,
I'd take
DC,
Capcom
Marvel,
versus-
and Capcom are all in Fortnite. What is happening in this world? And now, a word from our sponsors. When it comes to paying off debt, it can often feel like an uphill battle. High interest rates resulting in minimum monthly payments keeps you in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help you get ahead. Are you carrying a credit card balance month after month? You're not the only one. High interest rates make it hard to pay off your debt, but Upstart can help. Join the thousands of happy borrowers who made that final payment. Do you dread looking at your credit card statement every month? We don't blame you. Upstart can lift that weight off your shoulders so that you can feel the relief of being free of credit card debt. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. Unlike other lenders, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, like your income and employment history. That means they can offer smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, they're all 5 minutes. All these companies are like, all this takes 5 minutes. And I believe everyone that I've tested was slightly under 5 minutes, but they mean what they say. You can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. You can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. We are definitely feeling it at Easy Allies. I'm sure people are feeling it around the world, that the vaccinations are going out. So we might pull it off in 2021. We might actually go out, you know, and hug a friend and actually have dinner somewhere. Could happen. So it's a good time to reevaluate your finances. And thanks to Upstart, who's been around for these Allies podcasts for a little bit.
I can't wait.
People feels good.
To get fully vaccinated and then stay inside my home and play video games all day, baby.
When that delivery dude shows up, you
Yep.
feel you shake his hand. Thank you, delivery dude.
Brad, that was perfect.
Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/easyallies. That's upstart.com/easyallies, one word. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/easyallies. Thank you, Hello Tushy, for giving me, I'm not even kidding, like 15 different intros. There are so many different ways I could potentially take this. What did I go with? Where is it? Forget the flowers. Ditch the gift cards. Mom deserves something that will last her a lifetime of flushes. Refresh your gift game with Hello Tushy. Bring your mama into the future with the brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment. It's stylish, eco-friendly, easy to install, and will help stop flushing her retirement down the toilet in toilet paper costs. They said TP. I don't want to confuse people. Hello Tushy 3.0 cleans butts like a champ, but it doesn't stop there. It cleans itself with the Smart Spray, trademark, automatic self-cleaning nozzle. When we say anyone can put this shit together, we mean even your parents. And I am a parent, and I put this together. Yes, yours. Hello Tushy 3.0 attaches to your existing toilet with no electricity, extra plumbing, or tech support FaceTimes, and cuts toilet paper use by 80%. So the Hello Tushy bidet pays for itself in a few months. Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. Mom already got a Tushy on her pot? Blow her away with an upgrade to the new Hello Tushy 3.0. If she's new to the revolution, have her join millions of happy Hello Tushy customers right now for a clean butt with every flush.
Yo, Mom, are you part of the revolution?
Yo, Mom. How's your butt, Mom? I gotta admit, yeah, I'm gonna make. I feel like this is really happy and not as uncomfortable as the Hello Tushy ads have been in the past. So I just want to throw this in there, okay? And this is just straight from the heart. This is truth. I'm not spinning this at all. Some poops are not great. Some poops you're not happy about. You just want to be. Dude. You just want to be someplace else. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's just you're like, what happened? Was it something I ate? Was it something I did today? What did I do to deserve this?
Do you ever have those poops where like you feel compelled to make a sound with your mouth, like just going so bad that you just gotta like.
Or you're in a public bathroom and you hear another guy that's just going. You're like, I'm sorry, buddy.
What an insane question.
That's a bit. That's been several good comedic scenes in comedies over the years. It's the guy next to the guy who's having a hard time. For the past couple months, every time those happen, I'm like, gosh darn it, wait a minute. Hello Tushy, my angel, coming in saving the day. Give the gift of a clean butt. Go to hellotushy.com/easyallies to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's a special offer for our listeners at hellotushy.com/easyallies for 10% off. That's hellotushy.com/easyallies. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. Hey Brad, a new Castlevania game came out this week. Woo!
Yay! Yeah.
I did it. Did you know about the Castlevania Resurrection?
I knew about this game a long time ago, yeah. I knew about this game, the Dreamcast game. If this game came out, I would have bought a Dreamcast. But it didn't. And guess what? I didn't get a Dreamcast. Never have.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That was not the best decision.
Well, I wanted a PS2,
I got one
man.
after game trailer started, but
I chose the PS2.
Fair.
And there was two Castlevania games on there.
Yeah.
You said, like you didn't hear about this either. You did not know.
Oh, I knew about this.
Castlevania Resurrection or Bloodworth. Said,
Oh yeah, I wasn't aware until you sent me the links.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until reading the article. I thought it was cool that it starred Sonia Belmont. It was funny watching the footage for it though, and being like,
"Oh yeah, it looks terrible.
This doesn't look great."
Yeah, it looks terrible.
It definitely reminded me of Castlevania 64 for sure.
It's a little bit sharper than Castlevania 64. Castlevania 64 is fuzzy.
Sure.
Yeah, it reminded me more of the PS2 games.
That game is soft.
Oh, PS2 games,
but it is
way better or better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting. It says prototype.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a demo.
The prototype a lot of times is slapped together in like a week.
Yep.
Well, this was at E3 1999. I got my start in the industry 3 years later. Just missed it. So if you were at E3 1999 and I guess got in line or maybe had an appointment, you got to play this. I don't know if it's this demo. Again, it's a prototype. It is not the complete game. Canceled in March of 2000.
I might try to download and play this.
Yeah.
If I can. I'm not sure how involved the setup is, but
It is set to be was set to be the 7th named Castlevania, the 3rd in 3D after the 64 games that we mentioned. Sonya was in it. What was Sonya from, Ben? Do you recall?
Castlevania Legend.
From the 1997 for the Game Boy.
Wow.
And Victor Belmont, who I don't know if was spoken of in lore, but was never a playable character, but then was in Lords of Shadow 2 in 2014.
Wow.
But it was canceled a couple months after E3. And that's the thing about E3 is like sometimes you play a game and it's gone. You never get to play.
Yep.
That's the thing about old
again.
E3, Brandon. That's the thing that
those old games
stands out to me. We don't get this as much now. The public getting in more and more. You don't get a lot of these games that like.
Oh.
When is it coming out? Oh yeah, we don't know. We're just messing around with this thing.
I said Castlevania Legend singular. It's Legends plural.
Legends.
Nice. Your Final Fantasy Legend, Castlevania Legends.
The last thing that like sticks in my mind is when Nintendo first showed the Wii U and they had a bunch of those prototypes, and like some of them sort of came out. Like Project Guard was like bundled in with Star Fox Zero or whatever, but yeah, that was like the last thing that I can remember off the top of my head that felt like, hey, this is a tech demo and maybe it'll become a game, maybe it won't.
A lot of people reported on this. Ars Technica phrased this, I thought, really well. In a 2007 interview with the Castlevania Dungeon, project art director Greg Orduyan said that the game was making good progress subsequent to that E3 showing, but Konami canceled the project and every Dreamcast game the same day that Sony announced the PS2 in March of 2000.
Yep.
Wow.
Bye.
Yep.
Wow.
Brutal.
Man, this
to
is
be
the
fair,
kind of stuff I wish came out on, with the compilation games. Like,
Of course.
Oh my God, yeah. It's just this thing. We
Yeah,
all
it's like Star
just
Fox
throw it
2.
on there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
but it's Konami.
It can only do good things for Castlevania fans, right? There's no Castlevania fan that's going to be mad. This game's terrible. You know,
I will
like,
not
what a
be
fun
mad.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, at least from the games, right? Can Castlevania fans be any more disappointed than they are right now with the state of Castlevania games?
Sadly, Ben, yes.
Yes,
It
probably.
could get worse. There's no Castlevania Survive. What was the? There's no
Yeah,
like.
Metal Gear Survive. There's a pachinko machine though. So there you go.
The game comes from French Dreamcast preservationist Comey Laurent. Or Combi. He found out about the working copy earlier this month, so this is not something he was sitting on for a very long time. The owner is, quote, adorable and passionate. The owner passed this on to Combi because he had the clout, he had the tech, and he was like, you make this something that people can check out. Apparently, there's a way to actually get this burned on a disc that you can just put in your Dreamcast and it'll work.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't
awesome.
have done it, but he was so damn adorable.
Yeah.
Can I just say, for the record, I respect your adorableness and passionateness. It was listed on eBay and got up to 20 grand before it was taken down.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the person was like, well, I'm not going to make 20 grand on this, so here you go. You can take it.
Dude, imagine having 20 grand to spend on a Dreamcast Castlevania demo. Imagine
flex.
living that life.
That's got to
love
be
it.
despite a close friend. That's got to
Super
be, you have a friend that just loves Castlevania and you want to have him over at your house. Oh, look at this. And like, what the hell?
The funny thing is, though, if Ben had it, I bet he'd spend it.
That's
Ben,
why I don't have it.
yeah.
That's why I
We
don't.
can make some phone calls. Well, again, it's everybody can check it out now, but we had $20,000 in savings. We just got to figure out what to do with it. This could be it. I think our audience would understand. Some
in a way,
fun
this
games
is
on.
sorry. In a way, this is probably
No,
the
no.
newest Castlevania game we'll get for a long time. So please
course.
enjoy it.
What about you, Brad? You gonna check this out?
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, it looks really bad, but I still want to play it.
The badness, I think, is part of the appeal for me.
She moves so slowly. That's
I
the
can
main
see
thing
that.
that stuck out to me.
But Ben, I'm so used to bad Castlevania games already. It's not as fun for me anymore. I'm just like,
That's fair.
another one.
That's fair. I think the badness part is part of the appeal because, like, if it was a full-fledged game, I think I'd be, like, way less interested. But just as, like, this curio of time,
Right.
my curiosity is
Yeah.
there.
Am I still green, Ben?
No.
Oh,
Are you going to be? Do we got a
yeah.
Cal
Hulk
Hotake
out?
coming up?
I remember I was recording a preview with Huber one time, and I turned green, and we kept testing it to like try to not make it do that. And every time I logged back into Zoom, I would see his face look to the side, and then boop, it would turn green. I'm like, damn it. And he would Hulk out and be like, no.
I was hoping you were going to say he asked you if that was toxic waste.
Yeah. Or asked me to turn green specifically. You go to Comby Lawrence website, and there's some other fascinating Dreamcast games. I'm curious. Before I even get into this list, any ones of note that you recall? Any other reasons you might have bought a Dreamcast that eventually got canceled, Brad?
I feel like there's something.
So like an Echo game?
Yes.
Echo 2 Sentinels of the Universe.
I knew there'd be, yeah.
Wow.
Good call. Which is crazy that Echo like skipped the Saturn, I guess.
Oh.
I don't think that's crazy.
The Half-Life Dreamcast.
Skipped the Saturn and then came back potentially for Dreamcast. That this wasn't a canceled Saturn game, is what I mean.
But the Saturn was like, they sort of like killed it prematurely.
Sure.
Yep.
That thing didn't last.
Agartha? Not Agatha. Agartha is a survival horror game. Strong Silent Hill vibes.
Cool.
Canceled. Doll Force XOP, a shmup. Canceled. Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas. Ugh.
Oh, man.
And Half-Life. Was supposed to come to Dreamcast, never did.
I said that one.
Yeah, you
sorry.
did.
No, it's okay.
And a Genesis emulator, which he called a Mega Drive emulator.
They did have, and I had it, and I put a lot of time into it. That's actually how I played Shining Force 1 for the first time. I forget what it was called. It was a compilation of Genesis games on the Dreamcast. It was like Ultimate Smash Pack Volume 1 or something like that.
Got it.
Really good stuff on there.
Any games that you can think of that you know are canceled, because I always think about this, that you were just like, hopefully we'll get some weird demo. Hopefully we get...
Any games or any Dreamcast games?
Any game specifically. Yeah, Dreamcast is shout out Dreamcast fans, but you get double points.
Earthbound 64, man.
Yeah, Earthbound 64. I'm not even the biggest Earthbound fan, but Earthbound 64 I think would have been fascinating.
Because it seems like a nice trend. I'm hoping we get some momentum here and we get these weird demos coming out.
Yeah,
Star Wars 1313.
Ooh,
just that demo. Just that
very
demo
good
would
pick.
be dope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to walk around that city that we saw in the Amy Hennig game. Like he walks out of a spaceport and looks. It's like I don't have to interact with anything. I just want to see the same ship could fly over every 10 seconds. I just want to see that thing in real time. I got a deep cut because I want Dawn to play it. Remember, This Is Vegas.
Yes, I do.
There was clearly a lot of that game made.
Yeah.
That was not just a demo. There were like full on gameplay trailers for that sucker, and then whoosh.
Do you ever wish like some games came out that should have just stayed canceled, like Duke Nukem Forever, like flip that back around?
Was that supposed to be an MMO, or are you thinking a different one?
No, it was action adventure.
Okay.
Wasn't This Is Vegas like advertising like how adult it was? Wasn't that a big part of it?
Probably.
I don't recall specific. I just remember it was like GTA meets Mario Party. It was very strange. Like it seemed like it's like GTA, but you don't leave the casino. You're like, all right, interesting. Take.
Yeah, I feel like Sony Online had some kind of like spy kind of MMO or something that never actually saw the light of day.
That sounds very familiar, Blood.
I'm not thinking Agent, but there was something along those lines.
When they were trying the MMO
say I'm
space
jealous
a lot more.
That Ben is in a situation where he can have a somewhat distant relationship with his cat while recording the podcast. If I open that door over there, this would be the Norbert podcast. Like there's no way I could possibly talk to you about video games with a cat in the room. I am very jealous. Also this week, the Noid is back. In the notes for also this week in Slack, I wrote the Noid from Domino's. Did I need to do that? When I say the Noid,
I was
you
pretty
all-
sure
that's a
what
pretty-
it was.
Yeah, no,
Pretty dated character. I mean,
It is.
I think we would know, but generally, the Noid's a weird.
us old fogies.
Or
There's another time it came back. Like somebody made like a fan game a couple years ago, right?
oh,
That we checked out. Kyle
I
checked
sadly
out or
do
something?
not have that info for you. Wait, let me get
Yeah.
Kyle on the phone right now.
I just want to say this for our audience because if you haven't seen it, it will immediately improve your life regardless of your current situation. If you have not seen the Hatsune Miku Domino ads. Go to YouTube and look those up. It is like some of the funniest. Yeah, it's amazing.
Intentionally funny or just?
Are they Japanese ads or American ads?
No, the Japanese ads. Yeah, the Japanese ads. I don't know, Brandon. I don't know if it's intentionally funny
How
or
am I
not.
supposed to feel about
But
this?
it is very funny.
Have you ever seen the Jean-Claude Van Damme Black commercials? The gum.
I think you told me
Oh
about that 2
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
Black,
I've seen that.
Black. And then the Schwarzenegger. There's a whole string
Yeah.
of Japanese.
Oh yeah,
or something.
there used to be a website. If it doesn't exist anymore, but there's a whole website. that had
Yeah,
that
all those
stuff.
commercials.
Well, the Noid's in a Crash on the Run, which is the Crash Bandicoot mobile game. He's a boss that you face. He's totally modeled by the team.
Boss.
Someone's job was to bring the Noid back
Put the
into
Noid?
2021. I imagine a serious meeting. Imagine people in a conference room being like, okay, the ears. Let's talk length. What do we do? Like, let's talk that
Yeah.
red. Darker, lighter? Ben, I would love for you to elaborate on this because this is significant. On May 1st, Yoshinori Ono is leaving Capcom.
Yeah.
Someone who just screams Capcom to me is going to go work for Delightworks. And you dug in a little bit on Delightworks today.
Yeah. So Delightworks develops Fate Grand Order, which is an insanely successful game. Very, very huge.
Community Showcase hype.
Yeah, community showcase. I've played some of it myself. It's enjoyable, but it's a gacha at the end of the day. And they're assisting with the new Melty Blood that is coming out.
Oh, okay.
With French Bread. And
So not the old Melty Blood. This is a new project.
this is a new Melty Blood project, yeah. And Melty Blood is a niche fighting game that has a very, very, very passionate and dedicated fan base. Playing Melty Blood in the bathroom. And yeah, Ono's statement was really interesting because he was like, I'm going to be stepping, you may not see me in the FGC for a while, which is interesting because this company is involved with an upcoming fighting game. And so I wonder what Ono will be doing. He said he will be kind of looking at development from a different perspective.
Yeah.
He said, that this company will be very, very different from the one that I've worked at. And yeah, just a whole bunch of mixed feelings because people were definitely out there talking about how, Ono leaving might be good for Street Fighter and that maybe there were some decisions made in the past that were not the best for that series. But also at the same time, it's hard not to have immense respect for the man because, blood, sweat, and tears Street Fighter. He has dedicated so much of his time and energy on that franchise and was really the face of it for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
Do you know how much he's been involved in SF5 recently?
Recently?
Has he been off it for a long time?
Not at all. Yeah.
Okay.
He's been off it for a while.
Well, this kind of theme came up last week when we talked about Kaplan and Overwatch, and just this, how it feels strange to say goodbye to somebody whose face you just associate. And whereas I would not have been excited for a Street Fighter announcement, for just personally for myself, being excited for content, I always love seeing this guy show up.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
he's
always
one
got
of
so much
those
enthusiasm.
people that anytime he'd be around, it's just like a huge smile on his face, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I interviewed him a couple of times over the years. He's
I'm
like,
jealous. I would have loved to.
Yeah, it's like he's just one of those people that stands out among, particularly among the Capcom ranks.
And he's somebody that whatever he was doing, it felt like he was giving it 110%, and it must have been exhausting. I mean, you see him for character reveals. He'd be dressing up in costume. He'd be, just
Action
beaming
figures all
with
the time. I remember always holding something. He has something in his pocket.
The
or-
Blanca.
Blanca,
His
yeah.
signature little
right.
Blanca.
Yeah.
Yep. His signature Blanca. But yeah, he really committed to it. The entertainment factor.
Capcom had a interesting week. They extended the Village demo for 24 hours to a week. I say that for two reasons. One is a public service announcement that go get it if you were nervous they weren't going to do that before. And also it's them being like, okay, that was a dumb thing we did. Sorry. based on player feedback. Which what player feedback on a demo doesn't almost always say, please extend this because we want to play it more. Like, you want to disappoint, but you want people wanting more.
Right.
But that was such a weird schedule, and they are clearly going back on that, and will hopefully never do that again. Don't do that weird thing.
Yeah, the big thing that I saw several people complain about was the last 2 demos. It was only an 8-hour window, so certain time zones, like.
Oh, I blinked and it was gone. Yeah,
They just missed it. I even saw somebody come into like our chat room on Sunday morning, and they were just like, "Wasn't there supposed to be a demo? It just says there's like 6 days on a countdown. Yes, the other day it just said 1 day. What happened?"
Yeah.
Oh man! Just expected everybody to watch that video and know that's what was going on.
But smart move, fans win in the end. Fans also kind of win in a weird way because R-Everse, even though the E is lowercase, which drives me crazy. It's supposed to be pronounced R-Everse. It's like that E should be capitalized,
No, it was
right?
uppercase.
Is it capitalized?
Every time I've seen it, it's at least in the logo.
Ah, got it. Okay. But R-Everse, the multiplayer mode in Resident Evil Village, is coming in summer 2021. Just don't even think about that when you're attaching a review score to this game.
Wasn't.
Yep. Right. Yep.
I do want to clarify, because thinking back on my statement, I worry that people get the wrong impression. I said I was not the biggest Earthbound fan, not because I don't like Earthbound. I like it very much. I just don't feel like I have enough comprehensive experience with the series to...
No, Bloodworth is the Earthbound master at Easy Allies.
Yes.
He's the aficionado that we go back to. It's all, all that's established.
I mean, I ended up stopping that playthrough halfway through, like 2 years ago almost now. It's like,
but would I ask
that game sometime?
Bloodworth a question about Street Fighter? Hell no. Brie Larson gave a shout out to Able Gamers, which was really good to see. And specifically the work Alana Pierce has been doing lately. Steve Spawn just had a birthday. He's been having a nice fundraising push. He's got some big goals, big dreams over there. Even much more so than they usually have. And they're a wonderful crew. And it was just nice to, specifically the sentiment that she gave was like, I just learned about this. What a wonderful thing that you're doing. And isn't that true? What a wonderful thing they're doing at Able Gamers. So that was good to see. Super Mario Party's online now,
This is so crazy to me.
Like,
when did this come out, this game?
2018.
This game came out years ago, and everybody wanted online, and then 3 years later they had it. And better late than never. I'm glad it's here.
Yes.
But this is bizarre. This is definitely like an unusual kind of update, especially for a game of this level of popularity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think NPD tracks the top 20. They note if something gets into the top 20, they note what it was before. I think Crash was like 63 or something, and then now it's up because it got ported to the Switch. Do you think I'm going to be talking about Super Mario Party next month for the NPDs to be like, whoa?
Be interesting.
I wouldn't say that because of the popularity, but it's a Switch game, and Switch games are just...
One of the obstacles we came into is like, oh, well, yeah, we want to play this online, and more people got to buy it.
Yeah.
So I was like, do we really want to buy 5 copies of Mario Party right now?
I feel like, and I don't know who I mentioned this to, but I feel like Mario Party is like that game that for so many people where they like forget about it for like 5 years, and then one day they just remember like being in their pajamas playing Mario Party with their friends, and they're like, I want to recapture that, and then they go searching out for Mario Party. Pure speculation on my part, but I feel like that happens for so many people where they just that childhood game.
People were chasing those nostalgic feelings all the time with everything.
Yeah.
Think about like MMOs,
everything
man.
all the time, yes. But there's something about Mario Party. I think it's like the communal aspect and its simplicity that like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Starting on August 1st, the developer share of the Microsoft Store PC games will increase to 88% from 70%, which I know is not like earth-shatteringly fascinating, but interesting. We talked about Itch.io being in the Epic Games Store, and somebody in the comments very smartly pointed out that they're like, oh, that's shots fired at Apple. Just the whole idea. Like, see, we can have people in our marketplace that are making their own money. So it's interesting. Finally, like the consumer and the developers are winning on the end of all of these stupid battles.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a trend, but good to see Microsoft doing. According to Steam Records, Outer Wilds is getting DLC called Echoes of the Eye.
Yeah, I don't know how this works.
I have not looked up
no
specifically
spoilers,
on Steam,
but this is not a game that screams DLC.
Yeah.
So,
But Ian's got eyes on that one. Respawn and Oculus won an Oscar.
Yes,
catch that?
they did. Yeah, for the documentary and Above and Beyond.
Yeah, not for some weird technical thing, for a documentary.
yeah.
Specifically, it's in Above and Beyond. The documentary is called Colette, and they won for Best Documentary Short Subject. This is in the game. This is a cutscene in a video game that won an Oscar. Just kind of...
Yeah, it's
just let that
crazy.
sink in. And again,
Love it.
it's a extra mode. It's not like the ending of the game or something. It is just a documentary that they created because obviously they're doing lots of research. They got lots of material that they're going through. But
I bet it's that Michael Giacchino pull. Maybe getting some people to check that out.
not something you hear. A fun win to celebrate. And Stadia got a search bar.
I cannot believe that they didn't have a search bar.
I mean, it's
They didn't have enough games to need a search bar, Brad.
Blood, they press
Oh,
released this,
shit.
right? Was it just in patch notes and then people went after that? Or
No.
did
They
specifically
did a
were like,
tweet.
hey?
They did a tweet about it, like a self-congratulatory tweet, and that linked to a blog post with this as well as a few other obvious updates that are coming to Stadia.
So what? I don't know what the bigger gaffe is: not having a search bar at launch or tweeting a search bar. Like you don't tweet the.
Well-
if you made the first mistake, don't make the second one. Don't tweet the search bar.
Not only is it not a search bar at launch, but we are way past launch, and this is Google, a company that built its empire on people
Search
searching
engine.
for things.
That's
How
true.
did this happen?
A little too
How
ironic.
did this
you think?
happen?
The 2020s, man, they're wild.
Yeah.
It is time for love and respect.
Love and respect.
From Bogdan B. Hey, Brad. Thanks for the
Hey.
awesome Returnal review.
Oh, thanks.
nice.
Would you say the game is closest to Vanquish from the gameplay perspective? I love this constant feel of movement, dashing, dodging bullets, etc. Also, you can answer that one. Any Vanquish vibes? You just played Vanquish, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess in the sense of mobility and the speed you can move at. Obviously, you're not sliding around on your knees and shit like you are in Vanquish, but I could see that. Sure.
And question for other panelists: do we think this is a promising start for a potential new series from Housemarque? I believe this would be their first series. I mean, who knows? It doesn't
If it
necessarily
sells well.
promise that.
Yes.
Well, they did
Obviously, yeah.
multiple Stardust, right?
Yeah, Super Stardust, like HD. I know they did
Yeah.
that. But
It's
yeah.
interesting to think about because, yeah, they kind of bounced around, similar gameplay among their games, but they had entirely different franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, we're not going to do these anymore because they're not selling. So they started working on Storm Divers, which was going to
The
be
Battle
this
Royale?
like super generic battle royale. From what I could tell, it was like, okay, like even the name of it is like, you're going to drop in and there's going to be a storm. I get it. It's just like, but yeah, I think we had recently looked at an article from like about a year ago that it said like Storm Drivers is on hold because they're gonna work on another big game with a big partner, and it was all vague, and like it's so funny to read that now, knowing that it was Returnal. So yeah, I don't know whether they'll sequel it out or not. You're the one that's played it, so you would maybe
I'm not
know
saying
spoilers.
anything. Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
Exactly.
Having not played it, I think timing is everything. And just what I've heard about the game's difficulty from Brad, and then seeing that echoed pretty much everywhere else, I feel like this might be a harder sell than some other first-party Sony games, but it's the perfect time. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, people are hungry for games for their new consoles. Demand for the PlayStation 5 is still incredibly high, and so I think people are very curious, and maybe people that wouldn't normally give something like this a try definitely will. I actually think it will do quite well, especially after the reviews. It's sitting on, last time I checked, an 86 on Metacritic.
Yeah, I also think, Ben, that this game is like pretty much a roguelike. It has a lot of elements, and I think games like Hades kind of brought that to a wider audience now too. So I think people are maybe
I think
more
that's a good
interested
point.
now, willing to give it a shot.
And I feel like a lot of people are using that point of comparison, whether that's accurate or not. And yeah, it coming after Hades and just the success of Hades, I think, it being a roguelike or roguelite, yeah, totally. I think it's a great point, Brad.
I don't know, Ben. It's hopefully it will do well, but if it doesn't do better than Days Gone, you're on Last of Us remake.
Well, it just depends what Sony's expectations with this game are. Jones. Yeah. I don't know, because their last few games didn't do too well, and Sony took
Days Gone reviewed a lot
big
worse
risk
than Returnal.
Oh yeah,
True.
It did.
Also, it's worth noting, I'm pretty sure Housemarque is still completely independent. So.
Yeah, I think they're just publishing this.
Yeah.
I think. I could be wrong. But, yeah, I don't know what Sony's expectations of this
Sony's
game
publishing, but Housemarque is still their own thing.
I mean, still applying the sentiment of a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's play a game. From Matthias. Dear allies, after your best efforts to conquer my game about Japanese rhythm games and their respective controls, I present you with a new challenge. And I love this. This is a Ben one. I had to wait till Ben was back on. Metal Song or Magic Card? The rules are simple. I present you with the name of what I... This is really good. This is... I wouldn't know any of these.
Okay. I wonder if I will.
I present you with the name of what I claim to be a real card for Magic the Gathering, but it may also just be the title of a metal song. You have to declare magic or metal. Disclaimer, in the case of the title, by chance existing as a song title and a card game, the correct answer is magic. Think of it this way. Is the phrase a magic card or not? I also tried to include the respective band or magic set of origin. Enjoy. And Ben... Specifically, I mean, anyone else can chime in, but specifically from Ben, if you believe it to be metal and you feel good about metal, I'm curious who you think it is. Who specifically wrote it. If you can call any of these,
sure.
Respect. It's a big list, but they're all so good. Here we go. Force of Savagery.
Magic.
What do you think, Brad?
Magic, I think.
I'll go with
Sounds
magic.
like a black.
Do you know, Ben, or is that a guess?
I feel like I know it's a magic card. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel pretty confident.
It is. It's from Future Sight. I got a couple Future Sight decks. Blinded by Fear.
That sounds like a metal song.
That's metal, yeah.
That does sound like a metal song.
It is metal. Do you know who wrote that?
Nope.
He's thinking about it. I respect it. At the Gates. Do you know At the Gates?
I know them. I don't listen to At the Gates,
oh, cool.
But I know of them.
Wither Crown.
Wither Crown.
Dang.
These just put me in a mood,
song.
Ben.
I feel like Wither Crown could be a black metal song.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
I'm gonna say magic card.
It is magic. It's from Kaldheim.
It's a new one.
Neon Nights. Is Kaldheim new?
Oh, I know that this is a metal song. This is Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
There it is.
Nice. You got one. I'm happy. There's a couple of the big bands. Hopefully, you might get. I don't recognize them. Sire of Insanity. Can't you just hear it like Sire of Insanity?
Yeah.
I guess
that feels like magic.
Magic.
I'm gonna say metal.
It's magic. Dragon's Maze is what that's from.
I just really want there to be a metal song called Sire of Insanity, I think.
Surprised there's not.
Damnation.
Damnation?
Is it Damn the Nation or Damnation?
Damnation, just one word.
Magic card?
Like, probably both.
Probably both.
Yeah.
That feels like probably both.
But it is a magic card from Planar Chaos. Reign of Gore.
That's metal.
That's metal. That's like Grindcore, Cannibal Corpse, or something like that.
Yeah, I would guess like Cannibal Corpse would be the first thing that comes to mind.
It's magic. Dissension.
What?
Which I don't recognize. Dissension's a new one on me. I don't recognize.
What is the name of that? That has to be a metal song.
Reign of Gore. Please look at that. Throw another one at you. How about Hand of Blood? Hand of Blood.
Now I have no idea.
That does sound like a magic card.
Hand of Blood.
Hand of Blood.
I'm going to say song.
Yeah, I'm also going to say metal.
Tis. Bullet for My Valentine wrote that one.
Don't listen to Bullet for My Valentine.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I don't know any of those bands, really.
Kindle the Carnage.
That sounds like a magic card, like specifically a mountain card.
I'm gonna
Could
say
be. It's from
a
Dissension.
song.
Yeah. No,
Metal.
it's Magic the Gathering,
Magic.
Dissension. Again, Dissension. Dissension's got a lot of strong metal vibes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to spell this one. It's pronounced Yokulhopes, but it's yokel like Jokul, like from Norse, Haups. Yokulhopes.
Metal.
Song. Metal. Yeah.
It's a fun pick for metal. It's Magic. It's from Ice Age. But it's an interesting
wait.
pick.
I think I might know this card.
Oh wow.
Oh, I think I might know this card.
Yokulhopes. Bonds
Yeah.
of Faith.
Bonds of Faith.
That sounds like a card.
Yeah, I could see it being like a Plains Magic card.
Probably. It's probably
gonna
white.
say-
That's
Yeah. Card.
that is from Magic. Innistrad. Grave Bramble.
Grave Bramble?
I'm gonna say
Grave
Magic.
Grave
Bramble.
Bramble.
say
Yeah, I'll say Magic too.
Feels like it has to be Magic.
It's got to be Magic. No metal song has Bramble in it.
Yeah.
It's not a-
Yes, Brandon. Well
no
said.
metal.
Exactly.
Maybe Dream Theater, but nobody else is putting Bramble in their titles.
Yeah. Well said.
Tornado of Souls.
Megan, that might be my
Yeah.
all-time favorite metal song. I love Tornado of Souls.
I was hoping
so
you would
much.
get the Megadeth one.
I
Yeah.
have listened to Tornado of Souls so goddamn much. So much. I could like do that whole song right now.
Just for time. For time is the only reason I'm asking you to do it, Ben, but I'm tempted.
Yes.
Creeping Death.
Oh, come on. That's Metallica. Don't even.
I don't know. You never know.
Yeah. Ride the Lightning.
We don't go. We talk about Metallica.
From the album Ride the Lightning.
Nice. We talk about Metallica every now and then, Ben, but we never
Creeping
go
Death is
track
one
by
of their-
track.
Right.
Their best live songs.
Rainbow in the Dark.
That is
Dio.
That is
Yeah.
Ben, you rule. Angel of Death.
That's
That's
Slayer.
Slayer.
One
Yeah,
of the best
yeah.
Slayer songs. Yep. It's one of the best Slayer songs.
Angel of Death.
4 in a row. Right on. Angel
March to
Witch.
the Kingdom of the Dead.
Angel
What'd you say,
Witch.
Joe?
Makes me think of Bullet
Angel Witch?
Angel Witch.
I gotta go with Magic at this point. We've had so many.
We have
Yeah.
Angel
I'd say
Witch.
Magic.
a metal streak.
There's like a small part of me that wants to say metal, but I'll also say Magic.
It's metal from the Angel Witch. That is their
Yeah,
self-titled
okay.
track.
Not a band I listen
heard
to,
of
but I
them,
feel
man.
like I've heard before. Yeah.
Debt to the Deathless.
That does sound very metal. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say a Magic card.
That sounds like an album for sure. Magic.
What'd you already say? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll go Magic.
It is Magic from Dragon's Maze. They got a fun job over there. Magic coming up with these. Chapel of Ghouls.
Sounds like a song to me.
It does sound like a song.
Yeah, it sounds like a song.
Morbid Angel wrote that one.
Yep.
And finally, Lord of the Pit.
That would be a great metal song, but I think that's a Magic card. I'm pretty sure that's a Magic card.
Really? Okay.
Word of the Pit. Yeah, I think
you
Pit
gonna go with
Lords.
Ben?
Yeah, Magic.
It does. You would imagine that's it's a creature card that's doing something to other creatures. You know, when it comes in, so creatures do something else. Lord of the Pit. That was from Alpha. I don't know if that was like the Alpha, like Alpha of MTG, or if it's that old, or if they had a expansion called Alpha. Not sure. But boy, is that a fun list, man. I just puts you in
Oh,
a
I'm
mood.
so glad
Yeah, it was
Tornado of
good.
Souls got mentioned on this podcast. That has made my day, dude.
You
It's
performed
made my absolute day.
admirably in that game. That was fascinating. From Andy Schreiner, a recent GDC survey found that about 44% of developers are claiming that the pandemic has caused delays in their releases, which is sure to cause downstream effects for years to come. Does this concern you, or does this give you a breather so that you can go through your backlog or find a hidden gem from years ago? It's kind of been the sentiment of the last, 11 months. Maybe not the first month, but I remember, right before the summer, last summer, we were like, oof, we're going to be feeling this for a while. Does it concern you?
Concern me? No. I just think it's something to have people have realistic expectations on.
Right.
I didn't get to read through the whole survey. I did check out the summary the GDC sent out, but it is available to download for free. You just have to give them some info.
It's a little weird, I think, for us in our position because
We never run out of games.
It is our job to cover and talk about contemporary games, and so I totally do understand the sentiment, but I don't think it's quite the same for us.
Yeah, I just kind of let it lie. Like I don't really have expectations in terms of when we're getting something. Curious, don't have Huber on this week though. Like I feel like the anti-Huber sometimes, where he's so attached to like when things are specifically coming out, and like obviously there's no blame, with
Right.
companies doing stuff.
I just feel like a lot of these projects at this point have either already been delayed, or we just don't know about them, like the Nintendo stuff, right? Like Nintendo, it feels like they would have had a lot of other stuff out by now, but they're just really just spacing things out and taking their time and telling us about games like, almost right before they come out, like Mario Golf is just a few months of notice. So I feel like that kind of thing is probably happening with them. Obviously, Xbox were feeling it the most, right? The Halo delay and how long the rest of those teams are getting ready to gear up on things. But yeah, I mean, I think the summer showcases last year kind of show that there are lots of other small games just waiting to fill those gaps. And Returnal is one of those. Like, there's a game that may not have had a whole lot of attention if it was released in the midst of a huge storm of launch titles, but with the delays of other larger games, and here it is. It's got a whole 2 months to itself basically before Ratchet and Clank comes out.
Yeah. Boy, that Jason Schreier book on the developing during the pandemic is sure coming out, isn't it? Like, of course he's working on that. That'll be a very fascinating read, because I imagine this has got to be a really interesting examination of any company's culture about like, how do we handle this? Like, I could see some people totally thriving, that they're like, well, we weren't sure at first, but we actually found out we work really well from home. Obviously we would prefer to be together, but whereas that could definitely be a speed bump for other people. Curious to see once we're all vaccinated and all, hopefully, fingers crossed, and all back in normal times, how long it's going to be before people say the word pandemic in terms of game development, when they say like, no, 2 years later, we're still holding on. It's still a tough year to make up. It is time for bets. Next week's bet, Resident Evil Village launches on May 7th. Did you know this, Ben? Did you know? Just coming out next week.
We got Brad's on that one.
We got Brad on that podcast?
My game?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd pick World of Warcraft. That game's never gonna die. There's so much shit Brad, I could do.
Yeah, if I find out that you picked that on your island and I'm on a separate island, I'd also go WoW. If I'm like, oh, Brad's in on WoW, let's do it.
That's a good.
If we're all on separate islands.
I've never played it. So I'd go for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to
just start playing WoW.
All classes,
because on May 7th.
You do every class. You just do each content and then you switch to your other class.
Every class, every spec, everything.
When does it end? But no, clearly Plants vs. Zombies is the right answer to that one. When we record next week's podcast on the night of May 6th, which is going to be brutal, that I got to cut this podcast knowing that thing is downloaded on my
Let's shoot that podcast early, my friend.
Good call. I actually pushed the recording time back 30 minutes for this podcast. Redacted. I'm going to go to RE_games. URLs not included. How many words will be in the last tweet from @REGames? I'm going to copy the text into Google Docs, and I'm just going to go by what it says. I did that to the last tweet that they did, the one where they said, hey, you want that demo? You can play it for 6 more days now. 50 words were in that latest tweet.
Underscore is not included? URLs?
URLs are not included. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no URLs.
Did I say underscores?
But hashtags?
Did I say underscores?
Those count?
Hashtags could probably be one word. I mean, again, if it's super close, we can come up with a. I don't know how close this is going to be between all of our bets, but Ben Moore, what do you think?
I didn't know, so I just wrote 30.
Neat. None of us know. Brad Ellis.
Yeah.
What don't you know?
45.
Bloodworth. We're going up.
31.
Oh my gosh.
60.
So I got the low.
You got the low.
Yeah.
60's rough, man.
Just an I love Resident Evil tweet gets Ben the win.
Watch Jones win with 60.
I gotta boot up Just watch me. I gotta boot up my PS5 for this next one. This week's bet, Genshin Impact launched on PlayStation 5
Right.
yesterday, April 28th. Right now, how many people are watching the first trending broadcast in the game's description? I'm gonna look it up right now. Michael Huber bet 85. Brad Ellis bet 12. Those would be the opposing sides of the spectrum there. Bloodworth bet 19, and I bet 24. I might cut ahead because I should have had my PS5 ready to go.
Bets.
Yeah.
Well, because it's PlayStation streaming.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, you have to
for
stream
sure.
from the PlayStation. Yeah.
But
Didn't even have to search. It was the first one.
the power of Genshin Impact, man. We'll see. Maybe you're completely right.
Wait a minute now.
I feel like something's wrong.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
they don't have trending broadcasts. They got none. But I wonder if I download it if it gives it to me. Well, here we go. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm downloading Genshin Impact.
I'll see
Oh,
if
man.
anything shows
The
up on
beginning
my
of the
PS5.
end.
This is hilarious.
Beginning.
There we go.
the
Yeah,
end.
now, on the download screen they showed up. So
Okay.
Okay.
we'll see if I log in after I'm done cutting this podcast. It's one thing if you know a game exists. It's another thing if it's on your console. That changes things.
Yeah,
The
true.
top trending broadcast is from Young Caesar. That's spelled YUNG_CESAR, and there are 9 people watching Young Caesar. Brad Ellis was the
nice.
closest to that
Power
with
of
12.
Genshin Impact.
You guys
a good call.
right, man.
Yeah, the next one is 6, the next one's 6, the next one's 6, the next one's 5. I don't know why these are trending according to PlayStation, but you got
Dude,
the win.
anime
Brad.
lost this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You know who also lost? Or won, rather. The Jovial Penguins, bringing their score to 10. But the Vociferous Beavers are right behind with 9.
Nom, 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 nom.
Love that.
Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. You might not know that is a place. You might just be listening to Easy Allies podcast. You might have skipped this part every single time. You're like, I don't like those bets. Boop, and you skip to the end. Then you won't know that we have a Patreon. It's how we are primarily supported here at Easy Allies. We are largely a crowd-funded operation. And thanks to all of our patrons and everybody that supports us in all the different ways that we can. But you get that exclusive stuff on patreon.com/Easy Allies. A lot of fun things. We just had a spoiler mode for Falcon and the Winter Soldier that went up. We have a fun early access that you can get to various shows, including this podcast, and we're going to be doing a spoiler mode next week for Mortal Kombat. And so you will see the promos on our YouTube channel, but if you want to see those spoiler modes, very fun conversations, and a lot of times those are the beginning conversations. I don't really talk to Huber about Falcon and Winter Soldier, and we really finally dived into all of it on that spoiler mode. That was Ian, Huber, and myself. That was a very good time. I love that Huber, we're like, can you make it to the spoiler mode? Huber's like, I'm pretty tired. Tired Huber has a volume and energy level that I think is higher than all of us on our best days.
It was pretty funny because I was not there, but I listened to the first 15 minutes, and it might as well have been there because a lot of the things that I had told Ian ended up
I
on
did,
there.
and myself as well, yeah. I think you were the first person outside of Amanda that I talked to about Falcon Blood. But always fun conversations. Always love doing that. And love our patrons, especially our shout-out patrons. I'm going to shout out a bunch of people. For the last time this month, we will have potentially a new list or maybe some shakeups, some new people coming in, new people going out. But for the very last time in the month of April, a huge shout out. Blood, you're going first. I'm going after you. Brad, you're going after me. Ben, you are going fourth. Shout out to Alex AI, Caleb, Togi Crawford, Edsger, So I'm a Spider, So What, Elthanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Nick, Sage Mode Q, and Stephen Thomason.
And Estokal.
And Estokal. Oh, yes, that's right. Slipping in there. Yeah, thank you. Go Blood.
They had payment issues. It took a while to go through, but it's in.
Go Blood, go.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Brad, you won it. Top honors. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign-off.
Sure. Check out my Returnal review that just went up today of this recording. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And thank you, everyone who helped me, everyone at work who helped this review happen, like Ian and Blood and Jones. Appreciate it.
Yeah, way to beat that game, Brad. You beat it.
I beat the game, yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Just my final word would be someone, I'm begging you for the love of God, someone out there, okay? please save Castlevania. Someone, please just save it. And be excellent to each other. See you next time.
March of the Kingdom of the Dead.
I mean, it looks really bad, but I still want to play it.
The Easy Allies would like to thank our Patreon podcast producers. We apologize in advance for all the ally names we are about to misspell and mispronounce. Alex AI, Caleb Togi Crawford, Edsger So I'm a Spider So What, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Nick, Sage Mode Q, Astocal, Stephen Thomason, Walker Hope, Will Schmuck, Alexander Zirianov, Alexandra Reyes, Ali Cat, Beaten Down Brian, Bradley Spees, Dave Red, Discarded Digit, Douglas Chomich, Freya Lawson, Garrett Holfish, Hayden Hargraves, Happy Gaming, Jay Shee, Jeff Zio VGM Easton, Jesse Blue, Jose Gutierrez, Miguel Rivas, Nicole Johnson, Paulo Costabel, Foer Mangus, Richard G. Flowers, Rob Bob Will, Robert Stoffel, Roy Sung, Samsa Stormbaum, Sigma, Chum Nguyen, Valmar, Yasser Kerbushi, Zachary Wingate, Adam Henry, Aurelian Grenier, Brad Grenz, Brian Kruger, Charles Anthony Iapicino, Candy Coated Thorns, Dale Sun, DRD 7 of 14, Gary James, G Ken, G11, Gustav Strombaum, Jake Musser, James Vitt, Jan Tyson, Jethrin, John Burns, Jordan Kirk, Catherine Lai, Kroldemort, Laith, Luke Bennett, Mango, Marcel Markov, Mark J. Betters II, Matthew Holcomb, Matthew Pauling, Nathan Watkins, Oni Blackmage, Pete Shoemaker, Robert Crouch, Ryan Anderson, Sabine T., Sam Handrick, Spiral in Your Eyes, Stepan Hakobian, The Banana Forklift Killer, Todd Yurkovic, Rack. Accounts payable, Adam Lindsay, Adam Sharonbrock, A Filthy Lot, Ahab, Ahmed Al-Rashed, Alex Glass, Alex Lavanier, Alex Monaco, Allison Burt, Andreas Risberg, Andrew Stoke, Andri, Andy Marks, Anthony Galvin, Austin, Austin Brakeen, Barry, Bjornar Haraldsvik, Blake Bonsack, Blue, Blue Water, Blue Sky, Bonnie and Jason Connor, Brandon White, Bread Roll Art, Brian Foster, Briscoe Davis, Brittany Fuller, Bunny Chen, C.S. Lewis, Katie Garza, Chase Caldwell, Chief Uhu, Chris the Pianist, Christian Simniak, Christian Hundorf, Christoph Fatui, Christopher Santos, Cisco Ace Jackson Garcia, Clay Roberts, Clayton Smith, Cody Westley, Colin Hoyleman, Corey Jackson, Corey Landega, Craig Happ, Crediar, Culinary Stud, Cyberboa, Dakota Hayes, Damnable Nook, Dan Sebring, Daniel Dupree, Daniel Fuchs, Daniel Wong, Dan Pan 16, David Hadow, David Kubota, David Wilson, David Boyarsky, Delisi, Dimitri Zetas, Don Turner, Dougie B., Eddie Reisner, Edison S. Prada Jr., Eric Maynard, Eric Tobias, Eric Gustafson, Aspen Gotchman, Ethan Satz, Ethereal Ether, Faraz Rizvi, Fishflop, Forrest, From the Void, Gabriel Aberg, Glenn Olson, Hadi Ali, Harrison Holt McHale, Helen Y., Hitman 47, Isun Chor, Ian Anderson, Ibrahim Sozer, Isaac Swanson, Jai Aldiar, James Davey, Jameson Lapine, Jamie Barron, Jana, Jason I, JC3, Jeffrey Ruchtenwald, Jeremy Ferris, Jesper Popmel Dufay, Jesse Fish, Jesse Wilkeson, Joe Frantic, Joel Short, Joey Din, John Gallagher, Jojo Denko, Jonathan and Amy Alconis, Jordan Phillips, Joshua Vanswall, Jose Carlos Madrigal, Julius Garcia, Junya Motomura, Justin Payne, Carl Williams, Kartik, T, Kevin Gillet, Lars Berger, Lee Young, Leon Keys, Lindsay Wells, Linson Wu, Liam Ahern, Luis Sabara, Lion Crown 19, Malcolm Moschette, Malianware, Manuel Thomas, Marcel Giru 17 Froelich, Marco Hernandez, Materia Addict, Matthias Clare, Matt Ferguson, Matt Karwoski, Matthew Holmes, Matthew Migler, Matthew T. Ryan, Maverick Lee Back, Mazrim Tane, Megadet, Megan McDonough, Michael Bisegli, Michael Clendenan, Michael Kozachenko, Michael Pliskin, Michael Rebelato, Michelle Nubb, Miguel, Mikhail Aniel, Mike Calvi, Mike Hook 1, Mike Mizek Novak, Misuki 211, Mither Strongbeard, Mo Grant, Molly Bittner, Morpheus, Mr. Anarchy, Natavia Ross, Nefertiti Jenkins, Neil Bruce, Nycrypt, Noah Weinstein, Ulf himself, Oruguchino, Pablo Rodriguez, Paul Nolson, Paul Sway, Philip Higdon, Quinn Riley, RF Switch, Raymond Lee, Reed Johnson, Richard Goodwin, Ritz 1906, Robert I, Roy Eschke, Russell Bateman, Ryan Wagner, Ryan Curtin, Sam Sorensen, Samuel Copeland, Sean Cornett, Sebastian Urban, Sebastian Trier, Sid Reghunadan, Silent Consonant, Sneaky Gato, Spencer Stevens, Spluntot, S-Snake24, Strikeout NZ, Super 3D Cow, T-Beaks 15, Tense George, The Classiest Hobo, The Fatty Show, Tim Strothman, Thomas Blaze Fauchereau, Tim Mann, Tim O'Keefe, TJ Sullivan, Toasty Soul, Tom Masterman, Travis Gakowski, Travis Eng, Travis Miosi, Trevor Thomas, Trevor JM89, Tristan Howard, Trizac, Tuttle, Tyler Wallace, V8 Dave, V. Kira Ray, Vincent F., Volker Bach, Wavy Chula, Willow Pingree, Wobess, Wouter DeHaze, Zealous, Zahid Hosseini Karami, ZK.